Pilots, the Nexa B-24 Liberator is officially here, and as you can see, I had to go through and rework the paint job to make this after the Mary Boozer B-24. For those of you that don't know, the Mary Boozer B-24 is very significant to my family because my grandfather flew on this airplane. It's been my absolute pleasure to bring it to where it's at, but in today's video, we're going to show you all around this aircraft. Hello pilots and welcome to MotionRC.com. I'm your product specialist Wesley, and today we are looking at one of my favorite aircraft I have ever owned. Now when the B-24 came out, I was drooling all over this one personally, but didn't know if I was going to get to do it for work. We get these in very limited quantities, so if you want this aircraft, don't sleep on it. This one sells out very quickly when we get it back in stock. They are huge and they are limited production run. That being said, my best friend Jerry actually ended up getting me this aircraft for my birthday, and then I was able to finish it out over the last year with my dad. Most guys know him as Papa. Now, when we got the aircraft out of the box, we were absolutely blown away with the way the finish looked on this plane right out of the box. Now, that being said, as you see it here, I did go with a different scheme, but the green, the panel lines, the rivets, that's already all done for you out of the box. But I did do a whole lot of videos here on the YouTube channel showing us when we were doing the airbrushed weathering. And all the weathering you're seeing on this aircraft was done with our Benchcraft airbrush system, which you can get right here on MotionRC.com. And I've done a lot of videos on how to actually do this if you want to make your aircraft look just like this also. Now, the assembly of this aircraft is pretty complex, and I want you to know that going into it if you decide to do a B-24. This is a project for the guys that have done the foam stuff, done a lot of balsa stuff, and are ready to take on a large project that is going to really impress anybody you see at the field. Anytime we have taken this aircraft out, people swarm us to see this one fly. It really is a neat thing. If you're the guy that wants that airplane that everybody at the field is just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you have that. This is the airplane, I'm telling you right now. It stops everybody in their tracks and everybody has to watch it fly when you fly it. Now, there are still a lot of things that I want to address in this video that we're going to be working on over the next year, and you're going to get to see some more update videos as I fly the aircraft more and continue modifying the aircraft going forward. It's a great starting point, but like I said, it's a very complicated airplane, so it had got to the point where I just wanted to see it fly before we went any further on it. Now, the first thing I want to specifically talk about that is a more complicated portion of this airplane is the power system. Remember, everything is × on this aircraft. So for the motors, I use the Flightline Tiger Cat power system, which is the 3748 600 kV brushless outrunner motors. And then I use 60 amp ESCs on each motor also. Now, once I had all that done, what I ended up doing is just soldering new motor leads on that were long enough to get into the fuselage. And I left all 4 motors separately powered so I could power them each with their own 3600 milliamp 4S battery. Then I took the signal wires from each individual ESC and I ran them into the fuselage, wiring them each into one connection. Then inside the receiver, I had 20 channels to work with, so I actually split the 2 inboards and the 2 outboards into their own channels. And my plan with that is so that whenever I'm taxiing, I can turn the 2 outboard props off and run just the inboards to taxi out for a more scale appearance like an air show. The other thing you need to do if you use the same Flightline ESCs that I have and you're going to Y any of them together like that instead of coming back into the receiver, they all had individual BECs and I didn't want to use any of them. So I removed the red wire out of the servo wire, which is your middle wire for power, in each one of my ESCs. So the only thing that's hooked up is ground and signal. That way I'm not providing more power into the receiver and causing issues. I've seen that cause brownouts on twin engines before. So I wanted to eliminate that on this aircraft. Now, I also made 2 of the 4 gun turrets work so far. The plan is to make them all work, but for now we only did 2. It's as simple as putting a small little Freewing 9-gram servo under each one of them and then screwing them in. The kit already comes cut out in the hole for those servos to go. And then I ran those into their own channels and then ran a mix with my ailerons and elevators so that they're always wiggling randomly no matter what I'm doing with the airplane. Now, of course, the goal right now, I've been talking to Chris Wolf. As you know, he works here. He makes a servo randomizer that I'm going to actually plug into the airplane, and I'm going to run those on their own small flight pack. That way, whenever you're at the field, they just wiggle all day long while people are walking by to look at it, and that looks really cool. Another upgrade component I want to do is there is a 3D printed set of gun turrets for the B-24 that are available right now on Thingiverse. I can try and get those linked down in the description for anybody that gets this airplane, but currently I put them together with the ones that come in the kit, but I am in the process of 3D printing all of those right now, and we're going to be adding them in over the coming time. Another complex portion of the B-24 out of the box is the doors. Now currently they are the wood doors that come in the kit. These do slide open and closed manually, but they are pretty difficult right now. I need to work on these a little more. But what I think we're going to actually do is there is another 3D printed option available on Thingiverse. Like I said, we'll link it down in the description for a slide-in bomb bay door system for this aircraft where you get 4 individual bomb bay doors. So my plan with that is to be able to make multiple passes dropping bombs on multiple runs using that system. But we still need to print those out and put them in. But it will be a really cool upgrade to this aircraft that anybody that's doing it can also do. The next upgrade that I want to make to the aircraft is the nose gear doors. Now, I know a lot of guys gave me a hard time because they were open in all the photos and the videos right now. It was just one of those things, I hadn't got to it yet before the fly-in. We'd been working on it like mad and just hadn't had it done it. So what I need to do is add 2 servos up there on the front and make the linkages, and then we can make those gear doors work no issue. So that's one of the next things I'm going to do, and then I'm going to sequence them just through the radio sequencing functions. Now, when you go to put the flaps into the B-24, there's another very complicated little mechanism here. You have 2 servos that push these in and out. They are actually a Fowler flap design where they go out and down, and they're in a little channel. I will tell you, set this up without putting the rods on first. That way you can make sure you have your 2 servos moving synchronized and the same direction, because if you have the rods on and you go to slide these out, you will break one of the flap mechanisms. So I highly recommend you set these up. Make sure your servo arms are moving together before you put all the rods on. Once they're on, they actually work really well and they are effective. The aircraft floats in extremely nice. If you're actually not too careful, you'll strike the tail. It's floating in so nicely. So one thing we added was a little bit of a tail skid on the back of it, so we hit the skid instead of the turret or the bottom of the aircraft if you hit the tail. The real B-24 actually has a tail skid on it for the same reason. It'll come in at such a high angle of attack. When you're landing, if you're not careful, you can hit the tail of the airplane in real life. So we just modeled the same thing with a little piece of nylon and put that underneath, and that really has helped save some dings and scratches on the bottom of this aircraft. Now, for the landing gear I used on the aircraft, these are actually the Nexa landing gear right here, available at motionrc.com, and they've been really good. I actually have had 0 issues out of them, other than when I put them in, be careful that the wire is not in the channel to where the gear can come up and pinch them, because I actually had a gear come up and pinch one on the first retraction and cut the wire. So I had to go in there, resolder it, and clean it all up. It was kind of a nightmare, so just be careful where you have the wire for the gear going inside of the wheel well, that the gear doesn't come up and pinch those. That was a little issue that I ran into, and I don't want you to make the same problem. Another modification that we made versus the standard kit is the guns are made to just be glued on the waist gunner position. And from past experiences with bombers, I noticed that we knock these off constantly. So what we did is we just put 2 rare earth magnets in the tail. to where when we go out to the field, we just snap the guns in now instead of having them glued on and you snap them off on accident. Another little custom detail that we went on ahead and made, up on the front of the aircraft, if you ever look, the formation antennas are up near the sight glass on the front where they would use the sextant to do nighttime navigation. So the aircraft doesn't actually come with those navigation antennas. What we did is we cut those out of balsa, painted them silver, and got them up on the front. Really looks cool on this airplane, so I wanted to add that. Another little scale detail that we added to this aircraft is on the side, we put the actual crew members of the B-24, the 7th Air Force, 11th Bomber Group, 26th Bomber Squadron, and then all of the crew members' names down the side. That wasn't actually on the real airplane, but it was a really nice way to honor the crew members of the Mary Boozer. Now, the cockpit detail that's just above that, you can actually see it comes with a really nice instrument panel and some really nice pilots right out of the box. One thing I really like on all these Nexa planes as of late is the canopy is actually screwed on. So, the cool thing is I want to actually go in and add more cockpit detail. Once again, there are a lot of 3D printed cockpit options for either the flight line or this aircraft that can be upscaled and made to fit. So I actually kind of want to deck the cockpit out a lot more, and it's nice because I can unscrew that and get in there now to actually do that. The hardest part about flying this B-24 is not actually flying it. Flying it is really simple. The airplane flies beautifully. But getting it to the field, putting it together, and then getting all the batteries inside of this thing is the little bit difficult part. So you have this giant battery hatch here on the top. It uses 4 screws to attach it, and then you can lift it off. You'll see once we're in there, I have 4 3600 4S batteries in the nose. Then Papa added this metal rod in here that has the threaded screw on it. This is just a really long bolt. And what we found out, instead of using battery straps, is that if we had this little bar that comes down and clips the batteries down, it was a lot easier to take the batteries in and out and try and get your hands in there than using battery straps. And then what I do is I set my 2 2200 life packs on top, and then I just shove some foam in there, and when the lid goes down, it holds everything nice and tight. But that was the best way I found to be able to do this. Yeah, putting the batteries in and out is a little bit of a challenge on this airplane, and they need to be as far forward in the hatch as possible to hit CG. Another nice little touch on this is I actually added the power button to turn the aircraft on and off inside of the navigation station. So it's kind of funny, you get the readouts for the different power levels right there on the side of the airplane. So I have to tell you a little story here. So this aircraft actually took me 3 outings to actually get the Maiden done on. The first time we took it out, it actually started raining. And no big deal, I put the aircraft under the awning, I put my radio under the awning, under the aircraft, and walked away. What I didn't realize is the rain was coming in sideways and went right in the face of my radio, which ruined that day of flying. But with prevalence, we came back out a few weeks later and went to do the mating flight again after getting my radio back from service. Well, unfortunately, we powered everything up, got it all ready out to the runway. I decided to do a run up, leaned down, grabbed the airplane, and ran up the throttle, and one of the props exploded. Unfortunately, I had missed putting a few of the screws in one of the prop hubs when assembling the aircraft. So when that happened, it damaged one of the canopies on the inside cowling. So to rectify that situation, Papa came back, painted the damaged silver with some black on the inside of it, and now that nacelle just has a little bit of flak damage. So what I'm trying to get across to you guys is don't get frustrated with these big aircraft. Sometimes you're gonna have some differences and issues that you're gonna have to work through. And it's just part of these big airplanes. You gotta just work through them and keep the cool. Well, pilots, this has been the deep dive just to kind of show you around this aircraft and what we've actually been doing with it. It's been a lot of fun working on this project. Like I said, this one's been a personal one. Yes, it's for work still, but I have a ton of my own money in this airplane. Motion RC did not buy this one for me. I literally paid for this one myself, and it's been a labor of love, but it has been a lot of fun to do this one. I look forward to updating you guys in a few more months whenever we start getting more and more of the aircraft updated and keep going with it. And of course, we'll take it out, we'll fly it some more once that happens. You'll see more on the channel again. These aircraft are currently in stock. I believe there are 2 right now, but of course, at the time of the making of this video, they are going to sell quickly probably. And when we get more in, just hit that notify me back in stock button. Most of these big Nexa aircraft don't last that long on the website. So like I said, if you want one of these, make sure you get on the waiting list because they go pretty quick. As always, guys, whether it's air, land, or sea, you can get it right here at motionrc.com. And until the next time, get out there and fly some airplanes. I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.